Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear sister who gave us this translation. She's one of our admins. So the translation that she gave to me, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nanshi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as anonymous? I have come here on your platform because I have my own story that I want to share with you. So it was in the year 2010, that was when I met a man whom I will call Tawanda, not his real name. He was tall, dark, and he was someone that oozed with confidence. He was from Zim, but he had been living in South Africa for a while. So he was running a string of successful businesses in our country. The only problem that he was having was that even though he was having all of these successful businesses in my country, but his papers, they were not okay. So he was always having problems. So he had so much wealth, unlike anything that I had ever experienced. When I met him, when he told me his own story, how he was troubling you, how he was even finding it hard to open a bank account for himself, I said, God, finally I have arrived. This man already he has cash, and if I get married to him, I might even end up inheriting a lot of this stuff, since almost virtually everything, like he said, was going to be in my name. All that was needed was trust that was going to be there between me and him. And he said that if you ever break my heart, at least I want you to promise me that you will never waste all of this wealth that will be in your name, because it will be for my kids. When I looked at him, when I saw the clothes that he was wearing, your designer clothes, a very beautiful car, and he even promised me that he was going to be taking me for trips abroad, it was just too intoxicating. It was everything that I thought that I wanted in life. Well, we met at an upscale Johannesburg club. I was there with my girlfriends. We were celebrating a friend's birthday. So he was in the VIP section, surrounded by people who seemed to hang on to his every word. I noticed him immediately. His charisma was undeniable. I did not approach him that night, but I could feel his eyes. They were on me all the night. Later, a waiter brought over a drink, and the drink was from that guy. The waiter said, "Compliments of the gentleman in the VIP." I looked up, and there he was, smiling as if we were already connected. He eventually made his way over, and that was the start of everything. We began dating shortly after. He showered me with gifts, took me to places that I had only dreamt of ever visiting. And when he proposed to me in 2011, I thought that I had hit the jackpot. Already his money was coming through my account, so I thought that I had already made it in life, and I agreed. I looked up Brother Nashi and I thanked God, and I said, God, you are just wonderful for everything that you have given unto me. What I did not know was that T, like I used to call him, he had his own motives. While I fell in love with his wealth and charm, he needed something from me too, South African citizenship. At the time, I did not care. He was wealthy, loving, and everything that I thought I needed. Marriage seemed like natural next step, because at that time he had went with me and we had opened up a company together. I was virtually not doing anything. So I was the director, he was also a director, and we were making like real bucks and money. That was like my first good salary. I celebrated when he gave me my first salary for virtually doing nothing, and on top of that, your girlfriend allowance and wife allowance after that. From 2011 to 2016, my life became a nightmare. Like I wanted children. To secure this man, I know that I wanted children. T made it clear from the beginning that he wanted a big family. The reason as to why I wanted children so quickly, it was because I wanted to secure the bag. I knew that once I was going to give him a child, then I knew that everything that he owned, it was going to be mine. He also wanted a big family, but every time that I would get pregnant, I would always have a miscarriage. 9 miscarriages. That is what I had. 9 times my heart shattered into pieces. Each time I lost a child, he always grew colder. He no longer treated me like the trophy wife he once adored. There was this other day, I tried to force him to make love to me, and he said, "What is the use of making love to you, because it just feels as if I am masturbating with your cookie." That was the most painful thing that he had ever told me. I would wake up at night to see him sitting in the living room, surrounded always by these other strange symbols, and he always had a candle that he would light when he would be alone in the living room late at night. I then confronted him once, asking him what he was doing. He then dismissed me, and he told me that he was praying and he was speaking with his ancestors since he was going to the Red Garment Prophet's church. He was praying for me to have a child. So in my gut, I knew that something was wrong. I ignored it. I had become so used to the comfort that his wealth was providing for me. And I had even seen there was this other knife, like a hunting knife, but it was a wooden knife. I saw it. It was at the back of our yard. And I then called him and I said, what was the reason of that? Because this knife, it was stuck into the ground, and there were some names that were close by, and these names that were written on a paper, there was a red string that had tied that piece of paper to that wooden knife. I called him and he dismissed me, and he said that those were part of some prayers, some go back to sender prayers that he was doing against some people that he suspected that they were the ones that were causing me to have all of these miscarriages. I was afraid, Brother Nashi, of him. At the same time, I was afraid of losing this man and his wealth. I convinced myself that everything was going to be okay. The miscarriages were just bad luck, and we would eventually have a child. In 2016, it happened that I gave birth to a baby boy. He was very overjoyed, but not in the way that I expected. It was not the happiness of a father that was welcoming his firstborn. It was something darker. He started acting stranger than usual. He would take our baby into this other room for hours and hours. He forced me to name my baby and to give him a Shona name, Tino, locking the door behind him. Whenever I would try to check on them, he would tell me to leave because he was busy performing some prayers, blessings, and to protect our son. I was terrified. I was terrified, and I always felt like I was trapped, even though I was surrounded by all of this luxury, but still it did not matter at all. I woke up to the sound of chanting. One day, he was busy praying as he always did, wearing his red garment. I followed the sound to Tino's room. When I went in there, the door was slightly open, and then I watched him through the crack. I saw him standing over our son. He was wearing a black garment on that night, performing a ritual, and then he lifted my baby and he started praying and returned the baby into the cot bed. My knees went weak. I screamed for him to stop, but he looked at me and he said that he had to do this because this is part of his own culture. I grabbed my son and ran out of the room. I fled to my mother's house that night, my son in my arms, not knowing what to do. I could not sleep for weeks. I refused to see my husband, but I didn't go to the police. I didn't know if anyone would believe me with everything that I had seen. I didn't want to face the reality of what my husband was doing to our son. A year later, I filed for divorce. I could not live in fear any longer. But the final blow came when I found out that Tawana has already married my cousin. Just months after our separation, she had always been close to him and never suspected that they will end up together. What crushes me even more is that to this day, she does not even care about his dark practices. She knows everything. She knows everything, and she does not care. We have tried to speak with her, but the way that she has become so cruel towards her own family members, it is really painful. The men that I thought loved me, the cousin that I thought I trusted, they both betrayed me. Soon after I had found out that these two people, they are now staying together. That was when my son passed away. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. That was the translation of the message that she sent to me. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world.